Do-do-do-do-do. Theme song.
Hello, welcome to Left of the Box News Bites. I'm Sandy. This isn't the video I wanted to make right now, but it's a video I need to make. Sorry folks, this won't have much or any of my humor or snark. Some things I can't make funny. Please help me out by liking and sharing this video, subscribing to my channel, following me on Twitter, and by becoming a Patreon. Housing is a crisis in Canada. At all levels, our government has failed us. Well, it would be wrong for me to say they failed. They didn't fail. They did exactly what they intended to do. At all levels, our government has intentionally caused preventable harm and suffering. A single father of 2 young children was hit hard by lockdown after lockdown, and he fell behind on rent. He thought he had come to an understanding with his landlord, but without warning, he received an eviction notice. He managed to pull together the money needed and went to the landlord's office, ready to pay everything. The landlord refused. And on the eve of yet another lockdown and a holiday-long weekend, this happened.
Everyone has to leave, please. Out now. Out. Who's the tenant here?
I am.
That's you.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm here with him.
Frank? Okay, leave, please. I'm going to speak with this gentleman.
Please.
You have to leave.
Why do you have to speak with him alone? I'm his friend. Please. I'm his friend.
I'm going to give him the courtesy of a conversation. But he's in here.
He has the money to pay. He has the money to pay.
Okay, step out.
Don't you understand? He has the money to pay. Please.
Yes, outside.
Please.
Outside.
He has the money to pay. He has the money. Don't you understand? He has the money.
You enjoy going to one of the streets?
He has a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. He has nowhere to go. Don't you understand that? Don't you understand that?
Officer, you're enforcing this eviction right now. It's not a court order. You're enforcing an eviction. What is wrong with you?
What is this father supposed to do? What kind of scars will be left on his 1- and 6-year-old children because of this? What can anyone with low income do not to end up in the same situation? John Tory, Mayor of Toronto, could have done something to prevent this. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, could have done something to prevent this. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau could have done something to prevent this. All of them allowed this to happen. 23 cruisers were on location. Police stormed the building to make sure this father, who posed no threat, and children were kicked out of their home. I'm sorry, but who exactly are the police supposed to be protecting here? Who are they supposed to be keeping safe? I thought they were supposed to serve the people. That's why we pay taxes. Instead, they are enforcers for a greedy landlord who is in no danger of being harmed. How did we get here? I'll start with the Band-Aid solution that was CERB. Had this father been able to collect CERB, he wouldn't have fallen behind on rent. But not everyone qualified for CERB, and CERB ended a while ago and was transferred to employment insurance. Fewer people qualify for this, which means a person has to try to find work during a pandemic when jobs are scarce. Even when this pandemic is over, there will be a fundamental change to the economy, workforce, type of jobs available, and income possibilities. Many people won't be able to afford to rent or to own a home. Why is that? The housing market in Canada has gone out of control. If you make upper middle income or lower and haven't bought a house yet, chances are you won't be able to in this current market. If you are paying below market rate for rent, landlords will find any reason to kick you out so they can jack up the rate by hundreds. There are things that can be done to fix this at the municipal, provincial, and federal levels, but they are choosing not to. Evictions can be banned during the pandemic. A basic income can be implemented. For every houseless person, there are 6 empty homes. The government could buy these and provide socialized housing to all who need it, but they won't. The vast majority of politicians come from a place of privilege and wealth. Every party has members who are landlords. They change the system to benefit themselves and their class of people. From CBC. Ontario legislators have quietly increased their rental housing allowance by around 20%, arguing that they've been paying out of their own pockets to subsidize housing in Toronto's hot real estate market. The monthly rental allowance, which applies to all legislators who live at least 50 kilometres from the seats of government in Toronto, went from $1,910 to $2,300, a jump of just over 20%. Cabinet ministers and opposition leaders also received a similar increase of nearly 20%, hiking their monthly accommodation budgets from $1,993 to $2,383. They know the cost of renting is outrageous, but do nothing about it except give themselves more money to cover it. Their salaries are 6 digits, and they whine when they might have to cover some of their own expenses. But they made sure they wouldn't have to incur extra costs because, God forbid, they have to lower themselves to the average worker. Most workers must pay to be employed. They have to pay for transportation, uniforms, expenses if they need to move, equipment, childcare, extra medical expenses, and so on, while making starvation wages. The MPP's allowance was hundreds of dollars more than what a person on disability receives, and that was before the 20% hike. They understand how expensive living is, but in the recent Ontario budget, yet again, there was no increase to ODSP rates to help with the skyrocketing costs of housing and living. The wait list for subsidized housing is over 10 years in most places. Many people won't make it that long. The provincial and federal governments know that for millions of people, housing has become unaffordable. The federal government is also responsible for the atrocious housing situations on reserves. The conditions Indigenous peoples are forced to live with is criminal. The United Nations says housing is a human right. Imagine that. The Canadian government violating human rights. The government allowed this to happen. They can fix it now, but choose not to. It doesn't affect them, so they don't care. Housing needs to stop being treated as an investment and start being treated as a right. No more Band-Aid solutions, no more promises that will take years to implement. For this family in Toronto and many others, it's already too late. Don't wait for this to become your issue. Get informed, get involved. For more information about this story, or to learn how Mayor John Tory could have prevented evictions during the pandemic, click on the links below in the description box. There's also a link that will help you find out who your MPP is and how to contact them so you can voice your concerns. I will be making more videos on housing and going into more depth as to how this was allowed to happen and why it's continuing to happen. Please help me out by hitting buttons and by becoming a Patreon. In the comment section below, put how much market rent of a 1-bedroom apartment is and what the average cost of a detached bungalow is in your area. In my area, it's $1,500 a month and $900,000. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.